We'll call the regular meeting of the Planning Commission to order. We have roll call, please.
Jason Carnahan.
Here.
Kellen Dooley. Here. Bill Van Wy.
Present.
Sandy Harrison.
Here.
Jared Malcolm.
Here.
Frank Pulver. Suzanne Davis.
Here.
Angie Holt.
Here.
Tyler Lanning.
Here.
Alicia Rogers. Here. Mike McCarowich. Andrew Cruz.
Here.
Chris Gallmer.
Here.
Meredith Wright here.
Now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. In your packets, there was 3 sets of minutes. You've all had a chance to review them. If there's any additions or corrections or amendments, we would hear them. Otherwise, we'd entertain a motion to approve.
A motion for all 3 of them to be approved together?
Yeah, let's do them all, unless somebody has any corrections individually.
I'll make the motion to accept all 3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve minutes from June 17th, July 7th, and July 15th meetings. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Minutes are approved. Also in your packet was the consideration of claims for July. If no one has any additions or corrections to those, we would also entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve claims for July. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Claims are approved. Have any old business, Chris? None. New business? Throw my papers. New business, we have a petition 26-34, which is the public hearing for IC 36-7-4.3, requiring a review of the Unified Development Ordinance and any zoning regulations and land development rules with the goal of increasing housing development.
Okay, so in your packets is the information for this. Basically, the state legislators in 2025 put a law into effect for July 1st, 2026, that this has to be done no later than January 1st of 2027. Basically, to conduct a public hearing, to review our UDO and any zoning regulations or land development rules, to increase housing development by using the following 9 factors. So in your packet today shows what those 9 factors are, along with what my recommendations would be to move forward should there be consensus from the Plan Commission. So the first one was to provide higher density housing of duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, or quadplexes in areas designated for single-family homes. So this would be, so basically for anywhere that we allow for single-family homes, needs to be discussion on should we allow for higher density development in those areas. Typically, from my understanding, there may need to be some review from the health department as far as what type of septics these would need to be. Typically, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes are going to be in municipalities, cities and towns that have the city sewer and water to handle these type of developments. But what my recommendation would be if we would decide to move forward with this, and I think, so what basically we have to do is review these 9 factors, and then I have to provide a report to the state by January 1st of 2027, telling them what it is that the Plan Commission is going to do to answer these 9 factors. there's no really right or wrong answer. We've not been given any direction as far as how these need to be answered. There's not been anything that says we're not going to receive funding if we don't do these things. But again, this is what our wonderful state legislators do instead of answering real problems in America. So,
You just have to discuss them, but not necessarily make any particular exact decision on them.
not make any particular exact decisions, but I think that if we could come up with, we're going to review X, Y, or Z in 2027 and make those decisions, we can. I do think there's things in here that actually probably make sense, that are things that we've talked about over the last few years. Accessory dwelling units is one thing, but we'll go through each of these on their own. So for duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, my opinion would be to allow those in as an owner occupied, so that if the owner is living there as well, I think that they could possibly make sense in our A1, A2, in our rural estate, and our low density residential development. Our R2 and our M1, which is our more higher density and multifamily, permits 2 and 3 units. Our R3 is allowed by BZA special exception for 2 or 3 units and could add 4 units. And our multifamily permits 2 to 15 units. So there's really not many zoning districts, residential zoning districts, anything above our A2 district in the county. But this would require a public hearing before the UDO, or sorry, to add any of these to the UDO with a recommendation to the county commissioners. So again, my opinion would be to allow more owner-occupied style housing than just duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, especially in the county. I think it makes more sense to have owner-occupied. People keep them cleaner if they live there and own them versus owning them, living in Fort Wayne or California and renting them out. So
I would agree with that.
any questions there or recommendations or whatever? I'm going to text Besa about my QR code again, so.
I got a question. Is this like the deal up in LaGrange County or Goshen, Elkhart County, where mom and dad's got a house and they add on another house right to it, so kid 1 can live there, and on the other side they live another house, and they got kid
Potentially,
2.
so it would be multifamily, so it would be multifamily attached. So it would be more like Sandy and I want to live on the same house. We're not living, I'm not her child, so when she's not cooking for me, they're 2 separate dwelling units, right? So there's its own standalone.
connected?
Huh?
Is it connected?
Via a wall.
Via a
Yes.
wall.
Correct. Right.
A lot of times they're mirrored like around a garage in the center and then
Yeah.
2 dwellings
Right.
on the outsides, but
The Amish
Or
do
above-
that
or-
a lot.
up and down.
Oh, you go up LaGrange and Elkhart,
Yeah.
they got one house that's probably as long as this courthouse, and you don't know how many families are living in there.
So accessory dwelling units is what you're thinking of where like, hold on. See what it does. It says you don't.
I think it's Beza. Trying to get on the computer.
It's not a big deal. I can do it.
Yeah, we're not TV tonight.
No, we're on TV. We're on.
Wanna wait a minute? We'll wait a minute. We'll carry on. Wait a minute.
Sorry, so anyway,
I have a question. So
Yeah.
the reference on terminology, duplex, triplex versus 2-unit or 3-unit, is that the same or those are talking different things? I don't know if I understand.
So, good question. I would assume it would mean the same thing, like a 2-unit,
3-unit is a
3-unit,
triplex.
4-unit would be.
Okay, change the terminology,
Yeah.
so I wasn't sure if we're.
Yeah,
it was
so
switching.
the state uses fourplexes, which is typically gonna be considered a quadplex,
yeah.
not, again,
Okay.
wonderful state
Well,
legislature.
that's like,
Jobs.
the other day I was watching the guy's house and they built a garage. Mom lives on one side in the back, grandma lives there, and the two kids live in the front, all connected by a garage. I mean, it's not a garage, it's a machine shed where they pull tractors and stuff.
As long as they are considered separate living units, right? Like,
Okay.
so when kid moves away, they could theoretically rent that out as a separate full dwelling unit.
They each have a kitchen and some of those
Right.
facilities,
Yep.
then it would be considered.
Their own power and water and gas meters and they're all.
Right, they all have
all
their own,
independent.
all their own stuff.
What happens when the owner sells and they just go straight to a triplex and the owner is not living there?
So it would have to be owner occupied. We'd have to have something in as a
But when's it they,
restriction on the property.
Kick the other people out? I mean,
We'd
that
ha-
doesn't make sense.
What do you mean?
No, he's,
Well, like if the owner leaves, then it would be an illegal structure.
is that what would,
you're saying
Correct, you'd have to have some sort of restriction
if
on
the
the
owner
property
sells it
that
to
says.
somebody and they're just like, yeah, just put people in there not paying attention?
Correct, but you'd have to put something on the property that says that the owner has to live there. You have to put a restriction on the property.
Who's gonna enforce that, maybe? is
Well,
Kellen's question.
then talk to your state legislators. I don't know.
Because that would be a hard thing to enforce. Somebody moves
Right.
out, another
Right.
family moves in. How do you enforce that?
Chris on the Daisy's not counting chickens and stuff.
Or if the owner passes away unexpectedly, you know, then
Yeah,
all of a
there's a lot of-
sudden, you've got 3 other families that are like, oh.
Now
I
we're-
mean, I think there's, what the state's getting at is that they want to see more quote-unquote affordable housing throughout the state. And so they're saying that allowing duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, accessory dwelling units allows for more affordable housing. Does that really? Who knows? If I charge $1,200 a month to rent half of my house, is that really affordable? I don't know. I mean, when you can go get a mortgage for,
The only time,
none of this makes sense to me, but we have to do it, so this is what we're doing
You
today.
have to talk about it.
the only
Not to
time
do it.
to me,
Correct.
the only
Yes, we
time
have to
to
talk
me
about
it gets sticky is if they're out in, you know, A1 or A2 on a couple acres versus in town on a quarter acre on city sewer and water. That's a little different, a little easier to manage as if they were out in A1 or A2. That's where I think Chris's owner lives there is more important. Maybe that's just me.
But I have a question, you brought this up. If it's multi-houses, even though there's a wall between them, do we have to have 3 septics? Or can you put a bigger one enough in to handle that?
It's not my department to answer.
That's a health department problem.
But that's just it. How much do you go through the septics? I mean,
Well, and how many septics from a quad unit can you put on 2 acres?
yeah, that's just it.
That's a health department nightmare. We just had to have the discussion. We didn't have to solve any problems.
We don't have to do it.
It's not our problem.
It would be impractical, probably would be a
Correct.
different, because you probably would have to have 4 separate septic systems. Then that would force them to be more on city utilities, which is what makes sense.
And it sounds good until it's
I
actually
believe that
practical.
this law was created
states
for
have.
probably more Marion County, Hamilton County, the larger Allen County, where it's not designed to be used in DeKalb, like in a rural county like DeKalb. It's impossible to fix these type of things without the highway department, the health department, and all these other departments involved. And of course, they put it straight to the planning department to figure out how to solve it. But there's multiple other departments that have to get involved. Also, a municipality like Auburn can do these things easier because they have the systems available to do them versus putting in a septic system for these type of things. So, again, we have to discuss them. We have to see if that's a priority for us or if it's something that we just we're good with what we have. We do have to send a report back to the state, so I need to be able to report back to the state what the Plan Commission wants to see.
Now, the language in red is dictated by the state, but
By me.
adjusted for,
No. The language in red is what I've added as what we can do.
but based on what that legislation
Correct.
told us to do, applied to, because we have A1 and A2, then,
Right.
okay.
Black is what the state is requiring us to do.
Right.
Number 2, Chris.
So for accessory dwelling units, constructing other housing types, including accessory dwelling units and manufactured or modular housing. We currently allow manufactured and modular housing. In DeKalb County, we do not currently allow accessory dwelling units. This is something that's been brought up in the past. We currently do it. We only allow accessory dwelling units for dependent housing. It used to be only dependent parent housing. Now we allow it for dependent housing. So if it's a son or daughter or mother or whatever, father, doesn't matter. I think accessory dwelling units would be considered a good thing. If Angie wants to build a small house for me to live in her backyard and she doesn't care and I'm paying her rent, I think it sounds like a good idea. I think the only thing that the caveat should be is that if she would ever want to subdivide that off and have it be its own quote-unquote single-family house, it should be able to meet the standards of the ordinance, which means it should meet if it gets divided off, half of that needs to be double the setbacks of the ordinance. So the side yard setbacks, rear yard setbacks should all be able to be maintained with an accessory dwelling unit.
What kind of square footage are we talking?
That would be dependent on whatever you would choose.
I think of it as something smaller square footage.
I believe our square footages should be reduced anyway. We're at 1,200 square feet. It's too large. I think there's no need for it, right? Like the health department doesn't require it. We're the only department that requires the 1,200 square feet for a single family house.
I would think you wouldn't want the ADU to be equal to that or bigger. It shouldn't be bigger than the original.
That would be up to the plan commission to decide. But right.
Then they're not really.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying it's something that the plan commission would have to decide what those ADU requirements would be. I think this is something that we should look into
Yeah, I think
and something that we should really consider and consider changing or reducing the requirements of the minimum size for a single family house. I think, especially with how people are buying properties, a lot of single people are wanting to build a house that they don't need 1,200 square feet. And, you can add on to houses if you need them to be bigger and you like them, but I think the 1,200 square feet is a number that was.
Did we have that defined as being able to be a standalone unit? Like if you use an accessory dwelling, like say I'm gonna put, a kitchen and a bathroom and a bedroom in my pole barn. Currently, we would say, the health department most likely would say just run a line to your existing septic. So that's not really a standalone unit. It's an accessory dwelling, but it's still tied to the same septic.
It would be dependent, that's again, not a requirement of the plan commission.
I know.
It'd be a requirement of the health department. So if they're gonna require another septic system, we can't, right? Like the plan commission should not be requiring an accessory dwelling unit to have another septic system.
Right.
But if the health department does, then that's on the health department. don't give yourself more requirements than you need to for these type of things.
I'm just trying to think of like sizing and whatever.
Septic is based on bedrooms, not on the
Right.
size of the house.
I was thinking sizing, like if it had to be able to be its own standalone thing, like you said in here about splitting it off, it must meet the requirements. That's just what I had in mind.
So the health department currently allows for people, I wanted to build a house, but I didn't have enough room, but you were gonna give me an easement for my septic to be on your property, they allow that.
Right.
So that would be the same thing, they would have to get some sort of easement.
Gotcha.
The septic would be on there to do that. But again, health department requirement, not plan commission requirement. The next two things really don't have anything to do with the county. Adaptive reuse of commercial buildings for residential use. As far as I'm aware, there's not many just vacant commercial buildings out there in the county standing alone that are zoned commercial, that could be used for residential units. For number 4, we do not use a floor area ratio. We use an impervious lot coverage number, and our multifamily is currently at 50 and 60% for impervious coverage. Again, multifamily is typically not going to happen in the areas that we have jurisdiction over. It's going to typically happen in the ETJs of Auburn or Butler or Garrett or Waterloo or Ashley, Hamilton, St. Joe, where water and sewer, municipal sewer, are readily available. So I don't believe that's something that we need to worry about right now. Number 5, waiving or eliminating regulations for garage size and placement. We currently don't have a garage size requirement, and they just meet the setbacks. If it's a detached garage, it meets the accessory unit setbacks, which is 10 feet. And if it's attached, they have to meet 30 feet off the side yard. We don't have a roof pitch requirement, minimum lot size and square footage in our A1 and A2. It's 1,200 square feet. I would prefer to reduce that to an 800 and keep the lot size. The lot size at 2 acres would help, quote unquote, conserve agricultural land. Debatable, but is what we are in the county. Greater setbacks, I don't understand why, eliminating greater setbacks, sorry. So you could add that the front setbacks could be waived if neighboring properties are less than required setbacks. So for instance, if you line up on a row of homes that are only 30 feet off the center of the road, you could meet that 30-foot setback line instead of being 50 feet from the center of the road plus whatever that thoroughfare plan is. It's how we have to define our front yard setbacks. You could do something like that. Again, rarely we have an issue with this, and if they do, they go to the BZA. I think we've had 2 in the last 5 or 6 years go to the BZA for front yard setbacks, so I don't think that's an issue. Off-street parking, again, we rarely use, but we could eliminate. Design standards that restrict or prohibit use of code-compliant products. We don't have any architectural design standards in the county, so this doesn't really apply. And property height limitations, you could probably eliminate that without even noticing. Meaning, we have requirements as far as height limitations or height limits within every zoning district, but I think you could eliminate those. Again, any of those would require a public hearing to add or remove to the UDO. Impact fees, we do not currently have impact fees. While I do think it's important that the county should look at that, county council and county commissioners should look at that as a way to potentially increase revenue for large developments that are coming. If it's a new large commercial or industrial development, impact fees are a way to gain some money. Streamlining or shortening the permitting process and timelines, including through one-stop and parallel process permitting by 15 days or more. Typically, our permits take less than 3 days to issue, so this doesn't seem like to be an issue for us. The only time it would take longer than that is if somebody's stalled at the health department through their septic, or needing to sign some sort of waiver from the health department. Property tax abatements go through council, so that's not applicable to us. And donating vacant land for affordable housing. I do not know what vacant land is out there that's owned by the county. But again, that's something that we could compile should we. That are owned by the county?
So it's old, like railroad easements,
Oh.
stuff like that, so we're working through that.
But probably not gonna be properties that could be
Houses.
turned into housing, yeah. So, that's all I got for you today on the next episode of. Then on the other page, information, this is just information for you all. Indiana code now requires that all fees related to planning and zoning and building have to go into their own, basically a non-reverting fund, so those funds cannot be put back into the general fund and can only be used for department expenses. Just showing you what the cost is of what you guys deal with on a daily basis, the plan commission fees. So if somebody comes in and asks for a rezone, and we've had one special meeting come before you, and then we're gonna have another, but it's been canceled. But so for instance, it costs the county $730 to have you come to a meeting. That's the plan commission members, plus the plan commission secretary. That doesn't include keeping the lights on, doesn't include the security in the first floor. But what we make is for a special meeting to come to the plan commission is $600, for a rezone is $300. So the county is technically losing money to come for someone to petition the plan commission, if it's one petition. Same with plat committee. Our plats are $300 to come before them. The cost per meeting for the county is $430. Typically, we have 4 or 5 plats that come before the plan committee or plat committee anyway. So you're kind of in the black there, but if you have one, you're kind of in the red. And then the BZA, nothing at the BZA costs more than $500. That would be for a use variance. Development standards variance is $150, and a special exception is $300. So just something to think about, that our fees for one petition don't cover the cost of you all to be here. So I've been a proponent of, if this is a user fee based department, that if you want to come before the plan commission, you should be able to pay for the members to be here, right? Same with building permits and things like that. So just things to think about. We cannot actually change our fees now for, I believe it's 5 years. And we can only change them based off of how the inflation rate, not inflation rate, but cost of living rate is. So, we can't, if somebody's fees are $50 per meeting, they can't now increase them to $1,000 without having justification. So, just FYI. On page 4 there, it's about shooting ranges. That was something just basically with it, that we can't deny a shooting range or delay their permit approval based off of maintenance, repair, or expansion of a continued permitted use. So if the shooting range out there at the Conservation Club needed to do some sort of expansion but wasn't zoned for it, we can't deny them based off of that. Retail sporting goods store must be permitted in commercial districts. We currently don't have that, so we do need to add that as a permitted use to be compliant with Indiana code. Indoor shooting ranges must be permitted in commercial, industrial, and agricultural districts. We need to add those as a permitted use to be compliant. Again, I don't think there's gonna be that many indoor shooting ranges coming to DeKalb County, but you never know. But we have to allow them in any commercial, industrial, agricultural district. And memberships to the BZA and Plan Commission. Basically what this law is saying is that if the county commissioners remain the same through elections, any board member remains appointed. So if, I'm gonna use you as an example, even though you're not appointed by anybody, except Tyler, or Glenn. But if Tyler was to be appointed by the county commissioners of, let's say, Don Grog, Jackie Rowan, and Randy Dietz back 12 years ago, however long it was, if they were still in office now, that office would remain, or his appointment would remain. Typically, there would need to be a reappointment of that member. That reappointment is no longer needed. They just remain through the same office as whoever elected them. They have to remove them for good cause. It doesn't, again, this wonderful state legislature doesn't define what good cause is, but they have to give them on C their written copies of the charges against the member. So it just gives the commissioners information on how they have to remove a member. That's all I got. I think there's some things here that should be reviewed, but there's obviously things in here that just don't have any pertinence to the county. So as long as I brought this to you, I'm in compliant with Indiana code.
Is there a need for a motion and second to adopt your proposed ideas?
Nope.
Just so that you could give something back to the state at the end of the year?
I don't believe, Indiana code has not said that.
Okay.
I just have to submit a report that it was reviewed by the Plan Commission. And I wouldn't want to put anything that we're going to adopt this because you may not want to. So I would just say that we have an ordinance review committee that meets, and I think that we keep that ordinance review committee through 2027 and review these things. And if there's things that committee wants to bring forward, I think we do. But otherwise, I think we just have I could do a motion that it was reviewed. You could maybe do that if the state wants to see something like that it was reviewed and
Might be a good idea.
and discussed. I don't know what motion that would be.
Well,
But it did require a quote-unquote public hearing by the state, so.
Is this actually a public hearing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I got one question before we move on. Containers. Do we have nothing on for container homes now, do we?
Container homes,
Yeah,
as long as they meet the building code, they can
okay.
be used. So, I mean, anyone can build anything as long as they meet whatever those building codes are that our building inspector inspects. They can have them. Yep.
They won't be 1,200 square feet.
As long as it's 1,200 square feet. But that's a zoning thing versus a building code thing, so if the container homes would meet the 1,200 square feet and they can meet building code, they can.
That'd have to be several.
You gotta hook them together, yeah.
But there's been some that have been built up in Hamilton, I think,
Yes.
was some that were built. That looked pretty cool, but yeah.
See, that got back to the point where it's looking at one that put 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 containers together. Then they build like a garage in between them, but it was all one home.
Yep.
So the bedrooms are on one side and the kitchen and living room was on the other side. I mean, this is, they did it, so.
Basically, it's just you're using the
Yeah.
structure as walls, and,
Yeah.
yeah,
It looked
there's
pretty.
no load-bearing walls per se in those, in that.
I guess as it is a public hearing, does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this petition? Seeing none, close the public portion. There's no findings, so if we would have a motion like Chris discussed, entertain that.
And basically, I think that motion, it would be to acknowledge that we reviewed House Enrolled Act 1001.
I'll make a motion that we reviewed Chris's, information on House Rule 1001.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. He was gonna. No more new business, correct? Do we have any reports from the towns and cities? Goodness, that sounded like the.
I
It's just Julie's
guess that's a no.
Auburn had their meeting on this last week. Excuse me. And they came up with a few good ideas, like garages. Right now, there's certain standards for garages, and they talked about maybe eliminating that. Excuse me. And definitely, they were in favor of the ADUs. And couple of developers came and had some good ideas about what would help reduce their costs. So they're going to have some more meetings with the developers, plan division, and see what they can come up with.
Waterloo met on July 27th, and I'll do my best to articulate. We reviewed, they're looking to expand economic development agreement by one parcel with the TIF on the North Washington Street property. So there's a document that's getting presented to the redevelopment commission. And then it'll go to the plan commission and the town council for further action.
See, I missed the Butler meeting. And Andrew, Provines resigned, so I guess that was his last meeting. Hamilton had a meeting on August 10th, and they had to bring back the sign ordinance that they approved at the previous meeting in July because they didn't realize they had to have a public hearing. They had the public hearing and it got approved, so it was moved on to the town council. They also had a vacation of an easement, and that got approved, and that's about it for Hamilton. Yes?
Ashley never calls me, and I don't know what they're doing, so.
The only other thing that I have is I did hand everyone out the data center ordinance meeting schedule coming up through the remainder of the year. The committee's met quite a few times over the last few months. We are in the final stages of drafting some language. We're meeting again next Wednesday, and then the September 16th Plan Commission meeting will be at 5 o'clock. So mark that on your calendars. It will be more of a public presentation of the proposed ordinance, so it's not going to be a public hearing, but just a public presentation of the proposed ordinance to get some feedback back from the Plan Commission and from the residents. And then the 23rd will be, the committee again will debrief and make any tweaks to the ordinance. October 7th, because October 26th through the 3rd is Fair Weeks, we will not be holding public hearings then. But October 7th will be a special meeting of the Planning Commission for the data center ordinance. And then October 12th, the following Monday, would be the first reading of the commissioners. And then the 26th would be the final adoption, depending on how second and third readings go. So anyway, just so your schedule is there, you have that, so please mark your calendars. We will need everyone in attendance if they can be, especially on October 7th. That's all I got. Thank you all for coming tonight.
That's all we have. If anybody in the audience wishes to speak on anything, seeing none, we will adjourn.